record, we will go ahead and get started. So, today's webinar, thank you everyone for joining, is FYI Before You Buy. We, as an agency, we are a PR firm that works with franchise brands. We've noticed that there's a lot of franchisees that we work with, obviously, after they've gone through the process, who say, I wish I had a coach, I wish I had a little bit more information as I was going through the process. I really felt lost. So these webinars, the virtual roundtable, are designed to give you guys an educational insight into how franchisors think on the other side, as well as how franchisees think. We have some really cool people on the panel today. Some of them who were franchisees before. You'll meet Tom King, who owned a business before. Scott Frith, who grew up through the Lawn Doctor family. You have Pita Riggs, who was a franchisee in Pita before becoming the franchisor. So you get a good wealth of experience on today's call. The way that these roundtables work best is if there is interaction. Some of them we've had great interaction, questions galore, and we try to get to each and every one of your questions beforehand. But get interactive. So ask me questions along the way, and we'll make sure that they get answered. Even if you're not looking at purchasing one of the brands listed on this page, you can some questions, because they've worked with multiple brands and they have a wealth of information. So use them as your coaches. Use them as your backbone to help you get going. So just a few quick notes. We're going to go through our introductions. Then we're about picking the right brand. How do you know that you're actually picking the right brand for you? There are a lot of franchise brokers out there who will coach you towards a direction based on surveys and things of that nature, which I don't agree upon. It's more so your internal passion and things that come out of your wants and needs and hobbies, and you'll hear from our great group of panelists on that. Doing your homework, how do I perform my due diligence? How do I make sure that this investment is right? Then protecting your purchase. I mean, a lot of times you come to the table with certain capital, and that gives you enough to the rights to use one of these brand names, but how much capital do you need in the bank? What should I be looking for in the FDD? I have a great group of folks who are going to be answering some questions there. And how do I know that I'm ready? How do I know that now is the time that I pull that plug? When am I ready to take that leap of faith and quit my job and become a franchise owner? We're going to talk about that as well. So just a few housekeeping notes. I already mentioned this before the webinar started. But outside of this, on your own personal time, free to connect with us on Facebook. As you can see, this was a screen capture from yesterday, but we had 1,567 fans on there. These are all prospects like you, so there's probably a community of people there who are in the same shape as you guys, looking for that right brand, trying to collect enough finances and capital to get into business for yourself, but on this network. So the idea here is to build a community where we can actually talk honestly and openly and not just be sold all the time. So use that. LinkedIn is also another feature. It's not as active as Facebook. Obviously, you guys are on Facebook posting pictures of your family and what you did over the weekend. That's where we're going to interact the most, but there is LinkedIn. Emails, as you'll see, one of our experts, Steve Beagleman, here's just an example. You'll see his information underneath his photo. You may click on his email address and then run an email. You could say, hey, I'm looking for some support on finding the right franchise for me, or hey, I really liked what you said. I want to ask you a question outside of the webinar. So use that feature as an opportunity to ask more questions outside of it. Each of them are different, so make sure you keep an outlook for the next virtual roundtable. We've done topics financing and marketing and due diligence, and now it's some FYIs before you buy. So they're obviously ever-changing. Each webinar is different, and if you're not ready, maybe you'll get more information on that. And finally, the Q&A feature, like I said, you at the bottom of the webinar to ask any questions that may come. I'll make sure that we get them answered by our panelists. So let me talk and introduce our experts for today. Obviously, you know me already. I'm Nick Powell. I'm the Chief Brand Strategist at No Limit Media Consulting. We work with about 40 franchise brands on their PR and social media footprints. We work with probably 1,000 different franchisees throughout the year. and helping them get press in their local markets, and that's always done through the franchisor. So we're more of a support system. Steve, are you on the call today?
Morning, Nick.
How are you?
Good. Doing great, thanks. Doing great.
Do you want to give a quick introduction on you as well as SMB?
Well, Eddie Franchise Advisors is a franchise consulting firm that helps new people franchise their existing concept if they have an existing restaurant, an existing retail store, or home business that they want to franchise, and it helps existing franchisors and small, better systems and processes in place. I've been in the franchise industry now for over 25 years, having been the CEO of franchise brands like Hollywood Hands and a senior executive for companies such as Rita's Water Ice and Salad Works and other franchise concepts as well, and have founded my own franchise concept in the 90s that I grew and later sold to a competing concept in the industry.
Great. Thanks, Steve. And we'll come back to you shortly. Terry Couri, you want to give an introduction on yourself and Franchise Works?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hear
you.
Okay,
great. Hi, I'm Terry Couri. I've been in franchising since 1987 in sales and development. In 1999, started a website, franchiseworks.com, and really it's just an information portal where people can go get information about franchise companies, trade show events, news articles, press releases. It's really around for someone to go. If they're not sure exactly what they're looking for, go to the website, get information about the concept they may have an interest in.
The nice thing about Franchise Works, for everyone on the call not familiar with it, you land on there and it will give you an introduction to brands that might fit you. Obviously, as we'll go through today's webinar, you'll hear about looking at the competitive landscape. It's good to really measure all the brands on the space that you want to get into, and Terry's site is great for that. So, Terry, we'll get back to you, too. Harold, are you on the call this morning?
I'm here.
Hey, Harold, how are you?
Well, how are you?
I'm good. You give an introduction on yourself. Definitely mention the book that you wrote, and tell a little bit about Gordon and Maurice, too.
Sure. My Harold Kestenbaum, as you can see, it's an old picture. I've been involved in franchising a little longer than anybody else on this panel, probably 35 plus years, representing mostly franchisors. I did a book 2 years ago called So You Want to Franchise Your Business, ABCs on how to franchise your business. Maurice is a national firm based in San Francisco. I'm a part of there. I do their franchise transactional work. They're a franchise litigation firm. We have 25 offices and 475 attorneys. This is what I do for a living. I eat, sleep, and drink franchising.
It's tasty, so we'll get back to you in...
Very tasty.
It's tasty. So we'll get back to our great expert panel shortly. I want to introduce our franchisors today. Start with you, Scott Frith. Are you on the call this morning?
I am. How you doing?
Scott, how are you? Good. You want to give an introduction on yourself as well as Lawn Doctor?
Sure. Well, I started with Lawn Doctor as actually my family were customers back in the 70s. Father was with the company for 35 years and recently retired as CEO at the end of last year, and I stepped into that role after 17 years with the company. So that's a little bit of my background. Of course, we've been around the industry for quite a while. In terms of Lawn Doctor, we're the largest player in our category. We offer lawn care services through about 460 franchise locations, benefiting significantly from the 78 million people that turned 65 last year and just don't want to do things around their house anymore. Low investment, you can get in under $100,000 into our concept. No fixed location. Finance up to 60% of the deal, so we show some confidence in the concept and the partnership with the franchisees. And I think really importantly, something a little different from some of the other folks on the call. We have no fixed location, so you kind of go where the customer is, and you've got some flexibility there. So, definitely looking forward to furthering the conversation.
Great, thanks, Scott. And you're going to have a lot of good information coming out today's webinar. So let's keep going. Tom King with Right at Home. Tom, you want to give an introduction on yourself as well as Right at Home?
Thanks, Nick. Again, my name's Tom King. Kind of been in this business all my life. Started the first business when I was 26, which is 39 years ago. Crazy. And I had about 4 startups, owned 3 franchises, and liquidated his franchises about 7 years ago, became a franchise consultant, went into health, and started with Right at Home as the director of franchise development. And I'm with a fabulous company that for the last 6 years now that had over 250 locations in the United States, located on 4 continents now. We offer home health care franchises. Where our gross revenues 2011 were over $200 million, and earned claims for our franchisees are the highest in the industry. So real proud to be with this company. It come from a really strong home healthcare culture. People can do it. It's a little over $100,000 investment to invest in our business. So I'm real happy to be in this space because the growth is at least another good 20 years in this business. A real solid business system. So that's what I can help anybody with that if you're thinking about this type of business. Thanks, Nick.
Yeah. And the cool thing about Tom, obviously, is he was in your guys' shoes beforehand. So, again, look at the email addresses on the bottom of the screen underneath their photo, and you can feel free to email these folks after the call. Even if you don't want to buy it at home, connect with Tom. He's a great expert there. So continue on. Chris, are you on the call this morning?
Hi, Nick.
Hey, Chris, how are you?
How you doing?
Good. So could you tell us about yourself and We Do Lines?
Happy to. Thank you. My name is Chris Couri, one of the founders and CEO of We Do Lines, America's premier parking lot striping franchise company. Started in 2008. 2 of my partners on a part-time basis. We saw a niche and a need for off-the-radar industry, but something that needs to be done every day, parking lot striping. And found that the market was fragmented and underdeveloped. And branded, decided to come into the marketplace, create a strong brand, build a solid presence and set of systems, and have developed, again, the leading national parking lot striping franchise. Our opportunity can be entered for under $100,000 and have van-based truck and trailer systems and set up strong relationships with large buyers across the U.S. and are looking for able, willing, and passionate individuals to help us continue to develop the brand and the business.
That's fantastic. Thanks, Chris, and we'll get back to you shortly. Obviously, questions for Chris might pertain to him creating a successful business that started in 2008. So he got tanking, and he found a way to create something that was sustainable. So it could be some questions down the line on that topic. Andy, are you on the call from For Yogurt? Okay, maybe some technical difficulties, so we'll see if he joins later. Doug Dixon, I know you're on the call.
Yes, I'm good. Good morning, everyone.
How are you?
Great.
Good. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Grounds Guys and more importantly, the Dwyer Group, because this is just one element of your business. So go ahead and give an introduction.
Okay. I'll start with the Dwyer Group. The Dwyer Group is a Frith holding company. We have 7 different brands. We've been doing this for about 30 years now. The brands are all in the services space. So brands are Mr. Electric, does electrical contracting, Mr. Rooter, plumbing, appliance repair, Glass Doctor, glass repair and replacement, AirServe, which is HVAC work, International, which is restoration work after a fire or a flood, and Grounds Guys, which is our newest brand. We opened Grounds Guys up, sold our first franchise in June of 2010, and we're about 85 franchises right now and continuing to grow. And the unique thing about the Dwyer Group, I think, is the breadth of the different operations that we have. We've got experience at the table across those operations. We're also able to a lot of leads through cross-selling that we do across the various brands. In total, we've got about 1,600 franchisees, the U.S., Canada, and Europe.
That's great. Thanks for that, Doug. And obviously, for any of you who've looked at the Dwyer Group, there's been some cool things in motion over this year, including Dina, who is their CEO, being featured on Cover Boss. So definitely go take a look at some of their external stuff when you get a moment. Are you on the call this morning?
I'm Nick. How are you?
I'm Mauricio. How are you?
Good for having us.
Good. Do you want to give an introduction to yourself as well as BannaStrows, and specifically yourself, talk about being an entrepreneur too, because I think that's something that stands out as a cool story.
My name is Mauricio Acevedo. I'm the CEO of a concept called BannaStrows Crepes and Coffee. As our name says, we specialize in crepes, coffee, and smoothies. BannaStrows started in 2002. I bought the company in 2009 with the specific intent of starting the franchising program, and we have been growing since then. We have over 2 locations in development in the U.S. and 195 outside of the U.S. The beauty of our concept is that our product is very flexible. You can have any type of meals, breakfast, lunch, or dinner, as well as very flexible footprints. We could be in kiosks, inline, or stores. So happy to be here, and hopefully I can share whatever little we know.
That's fantastic. So last franchisor that I want to introduce is Pita. Pete, talk a little bit about being a franchisee before you became a franchisor, because I think that's something that's very relatable to those who are on the call.
Yeah, my name is Peter Riggs. History with the Pita Pit started first as actually just a customer. There was a Pita Pit where I was going to college, and then I thought it was a great concept. I decided to become a franchisee and eventually turned that into becoming a franchisor. So, I have a lot of experience on 3 sides of concept, just the concept of franchising in general. I understand what everyone on the call today is experiencing, because most, if you're considering a concept, are probably doing so because you're familiar with the concept probably as a customer, and now you're thinking about becoming a franchisee. So kudos to you and taking that next step.
It's great for that, Pete. So obviously you guys have a good introduction to the franchisors. Remember, there's their contact information on the bottom of the photo. Feel free to interact with them, and obviously our experts as well. So without further ado, let's jump into the topics. FYI, before you buy, this is the feature of today's discussion. So if you guys have questions about your process that you're going through or need help understanding how to do due diligence correctly, feel free to ask questions. We have the 7 questions that are going to be answered by a few of our franchisors in a roundtable type discussion. But obviously, again, feel free to use that Q&A feature on the bottom of your screen. So question number 1, how do you know you picked the right brand? I think start with Frith from Franchise Works, because that kind of Franchise Works does. It helps you figure out how do you pick the right brand. So how do you know you picked the right brand? How do you go through the process? What kind of qualifications should you be looking at in the brand that you end up deciding that you want to go with?
Well, I think initially going into this, people, I don't know if they know exactly what type of company or what type of franchise they're looking at. They typically have an idea, but I think first and foremost, financially, can you afford it? You're wasting everyone's time if you're looking, to invest $100,000 and the investment may be, $500,000. So, first off, can you afford it financially? Does it meet your financial goals as well? You get the return on that investment. How much money can I make? Is it going to support your family and your needs and everything else that you have? On top of that, is it something you have a passion for? Can you see yourself doing it for the next, 5, 10, 15 years? I think that's very important. A lot of people get involved in a business, and 6 months later they think, gee, why did I do this? So I think it's important that they have to have a passion for it, and they see themselves doing it for the next so many years.
Terry,
or they have to be comfortable with the company they're dealing with. Talk to the franchise, talk to the development manager, speak to the franchisees. You have to be comfortable before you make this decision. I think that's probably really important.
I can ask you this question because I know you'll give a nice, honest answer. Should I be looking at a franchise to get rich, or should I be looking at to replace my salary? What should I be looking at on the back end when I'm deciding what the right brand is?
Well, I think first and foremost you have to look at a franchise where you can make money. Now, what your needs are depends on what your income level is. But I don't want to say you want to get rich. I think that's very subjective. And I could make a little bit less money and love what I'm doing, and make a little bit less money and have an exit strategy. And as a franchise, part of getting into the business is an exit strategy. It's an investment. It's an asset. You could sell it. So, I want to say someone they want to necessarily get rich, but they can make a good living at it. And in what they're doing, I think that's probably just as important as enjoying what you're doing.
Hey, when people come to the table, are they ready to decide on Lawn Doctor, or are they looking at other brands? Have they picked that Lawn Doctor is the right brand for them, or are they are they just on decision process typically?
I think it's different for each person. I would say, people are looking at a lot of things, particularly in this environment. So, they may be at different stages of the evaluation process when we actually engage with them. But, we strongly recommend for kids to take a look at a number of different concepts and, make sure they're comfortable with our value proposition, how we stack up, some of the lifestyle considerations that Terry alluded to. So, each person's a little bit different, but I would say we strongly recommend to look at a range of options.
With the scalability of a brand, I mean, take Lawn Doctor for instance. If you pick it for the lifestyle, okay, I'm willing to make less money than I'm making at my high-level CEO job, but I know that I can have a passion for this. It can as a lifestyle, and it can turn into something more depending how deeply you want to become scalable at it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It certainly has to be something that you're interested in doing. I think we all know, pick a career you love, you never work a day in your life. And so that applies to franchising as well, that, you have to see it being something that you're excited to do each morning when you wake up, but I think you also have to look at the concept. I mean, people invest in things to make money, and, ultimately you want to see something that pays your bills and creates equity value and maybe is something that you can pass on to the next generation. And so I think it really has to do both for you. But, yeah, you want to start out making sure that it's something that you can see yourself doing every day. Pete,
with the restaurant, like Pita Pit, obviously you have to have passion for the restaurant industry to go into it, right? You can't have a passion to own a Lawn Doctor and end up falling into the Pita Pit, can you?
You can. And that's because that's the beauty of a franchise. When you do a franchise, you can get into a business fairly quickly. If you decide that your tastes and your lifestyle change, you can say, maybe you're mowing the lawn in front of a Pita Pit, and you say, I love Lawn Doctor, but I also love the Pita Pit. With a franchise, you can do both. You could have a Lawn Doctor's franchise, you could have a Pita Pit franchise, and the franchise will help you provide the tools you need to get started in that business without having to go through the many years of learning through trial and failure on your own. So that's one of the benefits of franchising. But I think what's been said is very very accurate. I mean, you have to have passion for what you're doing, otherwise it won't be successful.
So when franchise prospects come to the table with you, and they're more so in the initial phases as opposed to on the back end, and do you see passion? Are they trying to sell you on why they're the right franchisee, just as much as you're trying to sell them on why this is the right brand for them?
Yeah, we are, and it's we meet with every person who's about to become a franchisee. If they get down the path and they think, I really think I want to do the Pita Pit, we have one come out to our head office so we can meet them and they meet us face to face. So both sides can say, is this a relationship that we want to develop? Because that is for both people. For us, it's not just collecting a check and then you're off on your own. It's like we really are taking an adventure together, and we feel responsible for every franchisee that gets involved with us. And it's a serious commitment for everybody who becomes a franchisee. So it's one of those things where you have to get to know each side, whether you're the franchisee or the franchisor, and make sure that you're going to be comfortable being in that kind of a relationship for that amount of time.
Since you guys represent multiple franchisors, do you ever find that prospect that comes to the table that might be better fit for another one of your brands, and you guys help them discover passion that fits, or do they, when they come to the table, are they pretty much set on the brand that they picked?
Most of the time, they're pretty well set. I do have occasions where somebody comes in and they think they're interested in Mr. Appliance, and as they investigate the Dwyer Group and options, they end up with the Grounds guys. But that's more the exception than the rule. We kind of take people through a process of evaluating what some of their goals and dreams are in relation to where they're at right now, and through that process, I think they get some pretty good clarity of what's the best fit for them. And the thing about some of our brands, not Grounds guys per se, but some of the other brands like Mr. Electric or Mr. Rooter require somebody coming in with a license, a plumber's license, electrician's license. So there's not as much crossover in terms of somebody switching from being interested in one brand and moving to another with those particular brands.
How important is territory when you're picking the right brand? I mean, if you're looking at it as, okay, my goal is to have a limited territory. I want one location. I don't want scale. Then obviously there's a different weight. But if your vision is, okay, I'm gonna test up the waters. I'm gonna open up one and perhaps expand my territory over time. How important is it to look at the size of the territory for potential when you're looking at the opportunity from the get-go?
Well, it's very important. I think you've got to look at territory from a couple of different perspectives. Number one is how much can you afford, and based on what your budget is that enough to create the size of business that you're desiring to create? And then also, with our brands, the territory is exclusive, so we sell it just to one person, and so you look at the territory you're interested in and who is adjacent to you, or is there adjacent available territory next to you? Because one of the things we also do is somebody wants to start with us, maybe they don't have quite the capital to buy all the territory that they would desire. They buy options on adjacent territory if it is in fact available, and kind of grow to that over time.
You were talking about the financial aspect of understanding where your financial wherewithal is when you come to the table. I mean, if I know that I can't afford a Pita Pit, but I desperately want it, are other ways that I can find those funds to become it, or should I move on to the next brand?
No, I think that's something you should explore. Typically, companies like Pita Pit or whoever may have some type of internal financing or may have some programs in place. You may ask this in a 401k. There's different financing options out there. But generally, if you have that path of that business and you meet their qualifications outside of the financing end of it, and you're on the borderline, the company else can probably help you and direct you in a way to get that financing in place.
Scott, noticing that obviously if I can't afford a Pita Pit, I'm not going to be the right franchise owner there. But are you noticing that you're getting people that might have wanted to explore the sexiness of owning a restaurant initially, but realized financially it didn't make sense and have to fall to passion number 2 or another one of their hobbies when they come to Lawn Doctor? Are you seeing almost the positive effect for you guys of people who can't afford something that's a little bit higher investment than settling into Lawn Doctor?
Yeah, I say across the last several years, people, it's not necessarily the issue of affordability. There's a lot of people that have a lot of money, as was mentioned earlier, in their 401k and, in other asset classes. They just don't want to put it all at risk at this point in their career and their lives. So, if it's under $100,000, that's a risk they're willing to take. So, and they like some of the dynamics of service. So we definitely see people, shifting down in terms of the investment level for a variety of different personal reasons. And I think the vision of us providing 60% financing in-house where it's not available elsewhere, just even if they don't need the money, we see a trend towards 7 out of 10 candidates actually taking advantage of that because they feel like we're sort of side by side and it's a win-win. So there's definitely some of those trends in the market.
Yeah, that's great. So Pete, kind of going off of what Scott just said, do you see franchise prospects being a little bit more savvy for the Pita Pit since it is a little higher investment? Are they coming to the table saying, I want to have multiple units, the rights to multiple units right off the bat because maybe there's some flexibility in financing that I can cross-apply to owning multiple units at one time?
We see quite a bit of that, and we also see some of the trading down. There's a lot of concept. Our concept is more costly than a Lawn Doctor. Our concept is also a lot less expensive than getting into, say, a McDonald's or something where you have to have a standing building and do an entire build out. So we see people kind of doing that same thing too. So a lot of them have done a lot of research when they come to the Pita Pit. Say, this is a good fit for the amount of investment that I'm looking to do right now. Because obviously, styles have changed quite a bit over the last couple of years based on what people have been dealing with in the world economy. So, a lot of considerations have changed. And, we do see a lot of people that have put a lot of thought into what they're doing and what kind of investment they want to make before they make it.
So what about awareness? I mean, obviously, you got to have the awareness of the brand when coming to you have to know that it exists. Do you see that as a challenge that unless someone understands that maybe they want a grounds guy, then they might end up at another brand? I mean, how important is exploring your horizons when you're coming down to decision point and making sure that you pick the right brand?
I think exploring the horizons is very important. I think you got to look at it from a couple of different viewpoints. In terms of the longer run, what condition is the brand in right now? Is it a brand that's growing, or is it a brand that's in decline? And you can tell that by looking at their FED, their item 20 will tell you, they're opening more stores than they're closing, that sort of thing. So that's important to look at. I also think you need to look at that particular brand's history. Have they been around? Are they financially stable? And when you get into a franchise, as was said earlier, you're talking about at least a 5-year, and definitely most situations a longer commitment than that. So you want to have somebody that's got some financial strength and some staying power to be around as you want to be around. The other thing about the brand, which I support, and we put a lot of emphasis on it here at Dwyer Group on all our brands, is just the whole values piece of it. And does that brand have a good cultural fit with who you are and who you aspire to be? And that's not just what the franchisor says, but you need to look at their actions. You need to talk to their existing franchisees. It's on their best behavior when they're dating, but this is more a marriage type of a proposition. It's a long-term deal when you join a franchise. You want to make sure that that's going to be the right place for you.
Yeah, I'm glad you kind of mentioned doing that homework, because that leads into our next question. So how do you do your homework? How do you do it correctly? How do you do your due diligence? Steve, I want to start with you because you've been on the other side of the fence, really both sides of the fence, as franchisee, franchisor. But when a franchisee, how much homework should I be doing on the brand? How much assistance should I be asking the franchisor for? Give me a list of franchisees that I should talk to. Maybe talk a little bit of the basics of performing your due diligence on a brand.
Well, once you decide on a franchise or that you're in a concept that you're interested in, you want to do your due diligence. You want to, if they have franchisees, you want to get a list of the franchisees, which you typically will get in the FTD document. You can contact those franchisees. You can click them. If it's a retail store and you have some local franchisees, you can go and see them, meet with them in person, see the operation. But you want to do your due diligence. You want to understand the business, understand what you're getting into. I think somebody mentioned earlier, I'm not sure if it was Peter or somebody else, but you want to make sure, or Scott, you want to make sure that you really, really enjoy what you're going to be getting involved with, because the worst thing that can happen is you move forward with a franchise concept, and 6 in you realize this is really not what you wanted to do. It's bad for you as a franchisee, and it's bad for the franchisor. So really your due diligence, make sure you get to talk to other franchisees in the business and understand the concept before you move forward.
How do you prevent that from happening, though? I mean, let's say I'm passionate for a particular brand, and I am. I mean, are there tricks? Are there ways that I can make sure that this is what I want to do long term?
Some companies, in the restaurant business, some companies might actually suggest that you spend a couple hours in a restaurant and really understand what's really involved with working the business. Other concepts, if you're not going to be an owner-operator or literally working the business every day, it really doesn't matter if you work in the restaurant. But you really need to understand what you're getting involved with. And the franchisor will typically be able to really help guide you in understanding what you're getting involved with and make sure that you have the amount of time to do the due diligence to understand if it's the right fit for you.
Mauricio, you guys have had a lot of press coverage that have come on your brand. Do you feel like as a franchise prospect I should be reading every bit of information on a brand online before deciding on it? Should I be looking at that stuff for credibility as well as looking at their social footprint to understand the brand better?
One of the best advantages of today's world is that people are able to do a lot of their homework before even talking to the concept. I mean, it used to be before that in order for you to get information, you would have to write and give all your names and information, telephone numbers to get the documents, and you'd have people calling you all the time and trying to sell you. Today, different. I mean, you're not only able to see what the concepts see on their websites, but also what other people are saying about them. Social media is very transparent. There's no ways of hiding in today's world. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're one person complaining about something. The beauty of the internet is that everybody will hear you. So companies have had to become more as I said, and people are able to do their homework before deciding to take the next step.
Mauricio, when you guys were obviously first getting started and have very few or no locations, how were you encouraging people to do their homework? Because there wasn't much of a base at that point.
Whenever you start, it's a matter of a one-to-one and meet us. It's more the beauty of an emerging concept is that you get to be with the people who started it. I mean, different than from more established concepts in which you're just part of a chain, which has its advantages. The beauty of the emerging concept is that you're able to talk face-to-face to the guy who created it, see what they stand for, and, go and see their locations, talk to the few franchisees that they have, and see how they're doing.
So, Tom, obviously Mauricio just hit on relationships at home is developing a relationship with existing franchisees before you buy. Is it vital, or should I wait until I buy before I start trying to build friendships and networking with existing franchise owners?
It's important that you, if you're in an area where there's neighboring franchises, and that's the case in many situations, not all, but in a situation it seems to be also. I think it's very, very important to visualizing yourself in the business and the relationship you're going to have with your franchises to work with to get face to face, sit down and talk to these people, let them get to know them and vice versa. I think it's been very key to a lot of our franchise owners moving forward when they get with somebody and they meet with them and they click with them and they think that, man, this is a person. Franchisor is not only a person that I could have a relationship with and a good partnership with, but these people around me, we can market and network together, etc. So, and if you don't have any neighbors around, spend time talking to franchisees and try to see if you share the same maybe likes and dislikes, etc. And it's very important, I think, franchisee relationships during the process when you own a business, conventions, etc., is one of the joys of owning a franchise. I think I've done it in my life, and it's one of the joys of it is the relationships that you build across the country.
Mauricio kind of hit on some of the online stuff, but how much weight should you put in something negative that you find online or negative that you hear about the brand? Should you bring that to the table and ask the franchisor, well, I heard this? I mean, should you be looking at that as a piece of information?
Oh, I think so. So you bring it to. I mean, you can't let it fester, and you really don't want to ask other franchisees maybe about that. You could say, I've heard this, I've heard that, but I'd much prefer somebody bring it to me and let me. What I would personally do on my end is I would investigate the accusation or what they heard and come back with a straightforward answer like, hey, yeah, that's what happened and this is why, or that was really some propaganda that was out there, that was a rumor started, etc. But personally, I would, the truth sets you free, so I just operate on that.
One thing Tom said, and I figure you're going to be the best person to answer this question, but should so work a day in the life of a franchisee? I ask the franchisor if I can work a day or a week or something to make sure that I'm picking the right brand and as a part of my homework?
Some franchisors, Nick, are perfectly okay with that. Others, prefer not to have that because obviously there's some proprietary information that, a franchisee or a potential franchisee may learn about the company. So it all depends on the company and the concept, whether that makes sense or not. But it's clearly for everybody. Every franchisor is comfortable with it. So you really have to check with the franchisor if that makes sense on them. And if you can, you may want to spend some time in an operation and understand it. Not just spend a lot of time talking to franchisees and asking them questions. It's not always about a question like, how much money did you make? The difficult question, maybe a good question, is if you had to do the business again, would you? Has franchisor supported you the way that you expected? Has business met your expectations? And obviously everybody has different expectations, but the idea, because a lot of people aren't going to just out and tell you how much money they made in the business.
So, Mauricio, just quickly, do you want people to come see your content live before they fill out an application? Is it important for them to taste and smell and feel before they fill out that application, or is it okay to fill out an application beforehand?
It works both ways. If you're, as somebody said before, near one of our locations, the best seller of our franchise is our product. We have delicious products. There's people that are across the country in places where we still don't have any locations that need to do it the other way. You get the same information. Eventually, you'll come up and meet with us and taste our food and tour our different locations and see it for yourself. So the way it works for us.
Tom, I know of your franchisees had some sort of experience with the field beforehand. Do you feel that's almost necessary with a right at home so that you can completely understand what kind of passion you're going to have to throw behind it, or is it okay to have a missed passion around senior care before getting into it?
Senior care, there's no question that we do attract somebody that wants to give back and wants to help other people. They're getting at a time of life when they want to have their career mean more than just a dollar. We have that, but at the same time, we attract the executive model where people understand that they're going to get this business set up and know there's a great need for it. They can put people in place to do various marketing positions or staff positions. So, but you're buying a franchise. You're buying a franchise because you're buying a plan. You're buying a business model, and so as far as I would say probably 70% of our owners are out of some other field besides anything related to wellness whatsoever. So I've seen our number one office in the number one location in the United States that grosses over $10 million a year had been a beer salesman for Anheuser-Busch. So go for it.
Right? Crazy.
Pardon me?
It's crazy how many
Yep.
different backgrounds franchisees come from.
Yep.
So obviously we just talked about picking the right brand, and then we talked about doing the homework. But now let's talk a little bit about protecting your purchase. So Harold, I want to start with you on this question and maybe speak from your experience and then maybe how your franchisors feel about it. But how important is it to disclose your earnings in item 19? Do you feel that's vital for franchise prospects when they're protecting their purchase to understand how much they could potentially make?
Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. Years ago, most companies didn't. This year, the last percent I heard was 30 or 40% of franchisors do that. For startups, can't. Company stores have been in business for more than a year. The more established companies, I think it's important. And I think that they probably should consider doing it if they don't already. And also the people selling franchises for clients of mine are begging for that because really it's a sales tool. It helps them sell the franchise, but I think from the franchisee's point of view, it really gives them an idea of how much money they can make or what stores are doing. Certainly it helps.
Harold, how many of your clients are selling multi-packs? As in, franchisees are coming to the table and saying, right, I don't want one unit anymore. I want multiple because I think that protects my purchase. So are you seeing that more with your clients today? Because you rep about 100 franchisors, right? Yeah,
more, but probably 85 to 90% sell multiple units. Don't because it just doesn't lend itself to that, but the majority do.
That protects the purchase then?
Say it again?
Do you feel it protects the purchase if you can have multiple units going?
Well, look, at the end of the day, some people feel that owning one Subway that costs $360,000 is not going to be very much of a financial boom to them. And the way they could really make money is if they have 3, 4, 5, 10 of these and then really multiply their numbers and make a lot of money. And so very happy just to buy a job. So really it depends on who the people. the prospect is.
Are you noticing that people are coming to the table, and one of the big discussion points in protecting their purchases is territory? Are they asking for bigger territories, or are they asking for more exclusive rights? Are you seeing any trend in that with the prospects that are coming to the table?
Well, the answer is depends on the franchisor whether they're giving territories or not. I have a number of them that don't give any, which really is an objectionable issue when it comes to somebody buying it. And of others that do give it a fairly, respectable, protection, so that the person can look. Not all of these brands are like Subway that you could put one on every block or donuts, and they really little impact. Some, the quick, fast casuals, you can put one on top of each other. You need to give them some room. So yes, it's a pretty big issue.
What about you? Are you noticing a trend with your prospects coming to the table and negotiating their territories?
I think I am. We're seeing, definitely a surge in the number of kind of multiple unit deals that are in discussions. And, again, to the same point, people do want to control their maybe first territory or hometown territory, as well as a few territories around it. So I have seen an increase in that demand.
So are you saying that your prospects are also seeing forward-moving opportunity, as in, all right, I understand how much business I can have striping in this market, but as I cover this market, I want to start thinking about outside of it? Are they thinking forward when they come to the table?
Yeah, they are. I think they are. In our model specifically, it does lend itself to that. In terms of that kind of concentric growth, even though we're based, that's how they're looking at it. And they do want room to grow, and I think there's upside in certainly negotiating that up front and knowing that you do have that option. If things work out as planned, as intended, that you can slide into these adjacent territories and create a bigger, kind of larger territory that you can control and own and grow.
When a prospect's coming to the table, and I keep thinking about this, they're looking at this number, this magical number they need to qualify to be a franchisee, say with the Browns guys. Should they be looking at a number higher than that so that they come to the table with enough to then go market their business? Because if you come to the table just with enough to get into business, you're not protecting your investment, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's part of it. We help them through that process. And a big part of it is having enough working capital on hand to run the business effectively. And in starting any new business, you've got to market yourself, and there's usually some unexpected costs that come up. And you don't want somebody who's coming in on a shoestring and not going to be able to adequately launch their business appropriately and hit the ground running. And so, we kind of help them through that whole process of figuring out just how much of a territory can you afford to purchase. Is it big enough for you to meet your financial objectives, and what additional capital and funding do you need to have to run the business and get it out of the gate quickly?
Looking at the qualifications or setting them for what you need to get into any of your brands. Are you increasing a bit so that the working capital is within that frame of what you're looking for from a qualification standpoint?
Yeah, the working capital is built into that. So looking at the whole picture of what are they bringing to the table to operate a business, working capital is one of the pieces of the puzzle that's figured in.
So since you're having their back, you're saying, listen, we want to protect your investment just as much as you do.
Yeah, we want them to be successful. If they're successful, then we're successful. And we've got, in most cases, a little more experience than what they may have. And so we know what it takes to start a successful franchise. And so we share that information with them and then go through that line by line. And generally that resonates with them. And they say, yeah, we appreciate the help and advice.
So obviously have the working capital in place, but how important is it to build your own personal capital in that you create that human side, that your community knows you? How important is that local store marketing as a part of your plan to get up and going?
A basic plan will give you local marketing ideas, with pretty much any plan. But so basic is just the least you can do is to to work the plan that's suggested. But really, there's something somebody said a long time ago, and it was, it's the things you do in life that you don't have to do that determines your success in the future. So you need to become the face of your company. Just to give a small, just a personal example, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
But I was in the automotive aftermarket business, but this could relate to guys, Pita, Law and Doctor, Right at Home, all of them. There's organizations within your community that attract maybe people like you, or could be the Rotary Club or the Chamber of Commerce, and I had elected to join an organization called the Sales and Marketing Executives. It was a group of about 450 sales and marketing executives, but they were car dealers, and they were insurance people, and real estate people, and bankers, and all kinds of people. And I joined the club, went on the board of directors, became president. I was president for 2 years. Was the main speaker during the day. And it's immeasurable because they own 2 or 3 cars. They also have a lawn. They also might do catering. They also might have older people that need home care. But I became the face of that club for 9 years. Plus, I gave away a lot of gifts, door prizes and gift certificates and things like that. And it's those kind of things and everybody would agree with me in this room. But it's that kind of an effort, extra effort that you need to give. And I don't care if you need to go to Dale Carnegie and learn how to talk to people, or whatever you have to do. You have to step outside your business and become the face of your business and attract people and build relationships. And that really protects your business.
I love that. That helps you understand that you're ready to go, which kind of leads into the next one. So we've talked about doing our homework and picking the right brand and not protecting the investment. But just quickly, I went through and understand, how do you know that I'm ready? I mean, we have 36 people on today's call listening in. All of you are asking that same question to yourself: am I ready? How do I know that I'm ready? So I want to start with you, because you were a franchisee. How do you know you were ready to become a franchisee? How did you know you were ready to become a franchisor? What internal systems did you have to check to know that you were ready?
A lot of it is, first you make sure that your life's in a place where you can vet out into something that is new, that you can take all your time with, that your finances are in place so that you can financially handle that type of obligation. One of the biggest things you have to do is you have to know in your gut that you're ready to do this, that this is what you want to do. If it's something that you're going into it half-heartedly, there's a good chance that even though the system franchisor may be solid, you still fail at it if you do a poor job of executing on it. That's the reason why every Pita Pit doesn't do the exact same amount of sales. It's that individual person in the store that makes the difference. And so you have to know, something that I really, really want to do. Is this something that I'm excited about, something that I'm going to wake up in the morning and I'm going to say, man, I love this concept, whatever concept it is you choose. I love this concept, and I can't wait to go and do it today. Those are some of the biggest things that you need to know. If you're looking at it going, yeah, well, maybe I'll do this until I find something I really want to do, then it's probably not the right time. I mean, this is something that you have to be committed to, because you're not putting your life in your hands, but there's a lot of people that end up working for you, and every one of them has their livelihood in your hands, and so it's important to take the obligation seriously.
So obviously we have a bunch of people who are looking at franchise opportunities right now. Should they feel like they're ready to become a franchisee before they fill out the application, or is it okay to take a softer approach to it?
I think there's to be a level of commitment before you take that first step, but certainly you're not going to have all the answers when you fill out an application. So I think, get a little comfort so you're willing to engage in some of those discussions and, have meaningful conversations with the franchisor. But, I think Pete makes a really good point. The first thing you really have to ask yourself at a point in the process is, am I fundamentally committed to the notion of changing how money comes into our household and changing what we do with our lives? And I think that high-level, kitchen table conversation that you need to have with your spouse, I think everyone on the call would agree that, everyone in the house needs to be on board with that. And then once you have the big idea of, yeah, we're willing to take the leap, we're interested in franchising, we know what it is and is not, then you start to evaluate the particular concept and all the things that we've talked about. You know, have you adequately reviewed the FDD? Have you talked to franchisees and heard, you know, are they making money? Are they happy? Is the franchisor the person that they thought they were when they entered the relationship? You know, is the business model the right business model to meet your expectations? You know, those kind of things. But I think you really have to ask yourself that first question of, you know, are we ready to make that leap?
Chris, I ask you this question, and it's more so that everyone who's listening and everyone who listens to this recorded webinar in the future can gain an understanding and kind of hear what it's like to be on the franchisor side. But when those leads and they don't take your call, or they fill out the application and they don't respond, or they tell you that they're really into it and then completely disappear, how frustrating is that for a franchisor?
It's extremely frustrating. You know, I mean, we take every lead extremely seriously and appreciate them greatly. And, you know, again, our goal is to really educate the prospect on brand and our model and on franchising in general sometimes, just there to provide the information. And so if someone doesn't return the call or acknowledge or kind of, you know, you don't want to feel like you're led down a path, kind of a dead end. I'd much prefer to have that initial conversation with them, and maybe at the end of that initial call, I might really understand it might not be the right fit, but certainly frustrating, Nick.
Well, Mauricio, I want to ask you the same question, because I think as more of a emerging brand, it probably makes it more challenging, because if you're chasing down someone who said, hey, I'm interested, and then they just kind of disappear, how does that make you feel in the process? I mean, because more than just, you're not selling them, you're trying to have a relationship with them.
Yeah, I think it's the way people are used to you know, that business is being done. It's very difficult for people to say no. So, you know, a prospect asked for information, and somewhere along the line they didn't like what they heard, or they realized that the opportunity wasn't for them. Most people are afraid of saying, you know what, I'm not interested anymore, because they feel, you know, the sales guy's gonna keep hounding them until they get, you know, until it convinces them. But as franchisors, we would appreciate, you know, the same effort that we put into, you know, educating and making all the information available. You know, it's nice to get straight from the outside too. I mean, if you're not interested, that's fine. Maybe you know somebody who is, or maybe the fact that they're interested teaches us as franchisors what we could be doing better. So, you know, no's are not bad. There's times they can be the best thing that happens.
Yeah, so obviously everyone who's listening today, you guys got a good glimpse into some of the things that you want to know before the process. This is just the starting point. So, again, use this as a networking side. Just a few takeaways. Do you want to talk about sticking to your decision criteria and figuring out what you want initially and then following that path? Terry?
I'm sorry, I missed the question.
Okay, you're fine.
You broke
leave a little tidbit on deciding what your decision criteria are before you commit to the process.
Well, no, I think I have a passion for the business, and I think you need to compare opportunities to see, you know, who you're comfortable with and what the best opportunity is for you out there. That's really what I would look at.
Great. And do you want to talk about committing to the process and obviously taking the calls of the franchisor when they pop in?
Well, I mean, yeah. When you're about taking the calls, I mean, that's what you do. That's what they're there for. And you know, doing your homework, yes, absolutely. Do your due diligence. Go through everything. Make sure you're comfortable with what you've read, and professional you hire.
And Steve, how important is it to talk to the franchisees of the system before you decide?
Like I said earlier, Nick, I mean, you really need to validate the concept, make sure you understand what you're getting into, and make sure you understand not just what the potential might be on a revenue side, but the cost to get in. As long as the costs are in the FDD, make sure they're in line with what the franchisees spend to open their business. So absolutely, you need to talk to franchisees as well as communicate with the franchisor.
Okay. How important is it to do your homework as a part of the process?
Well, I mean, you need, you know, too often we find as franchisors that the franchisees don't go out and bother to hire professionals and spend the money, and really need to do that. They need to hire a lawyer who's familiar with franchising on the franchisee side. They need to have their accountant go over the financial statements, and if there's an item 19, to go over that. You need to. I can't. How many franchisees do not ever read the documents? A huge mistake.
Especially when you're investing your life savings into these.
That's exactly right.
Process. Very lastly, how important is it to have an exit strategy when you're going into the process?
Well, I think it's extremely important. This way, it gives you the opportunity to capitalize, on that investment you made into the business. Obviously, it's worked well for you for 10 years, but now you have an opportunity to, with the right franchise company, to build equity into it and really into something that you can retire on.
Yeah, that's great. Obviously, we had a bunch of you on today's call. Hopefully, you got a lot of information. This has all been recorded, so you can go on to facebook.com/virtualfran after the webinar, and we will be posting it on there so that you guys can go on and review all the information that you just got to hear. Hopefully that will help you absorb all information that you got over the last hour. And we have another webinar coming up at 2 p.m. Eastern if you wanted to join again and ask more questions. But with that being said, I want to thank everyone for joining today's webinar. We really appreciate you guys listening in, and hopefully you guys got some tidbits that could make a big difference in the end. So, again, thank you to all of my experts and my franchisors. We appreciate it, and be sure to look on our Facebook page for information on the next webinar. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.